Today, we're going to be talking about several housing projects that are in the works, several of which are accepting applications and one that is not yet quite at that stage. Before we get started with talking a little bit about the Mountain Housing Council and some of our speakers, let's go ahead and just do a round of introductions. Luke, do you want to start us out?
Yes, my name is Luke Watkins. I'm with Neighborhood Partners, which is an affordable housing developer. I'm based in Davis, California, and I've been doing this for about 36 years, but I have two projects in Truckee that I want to talk about.
Great, thanks, Luke. Ann Rarick.
Hi, I'm Ann Rarick. I'm the Hunger Relief Program Director at Sierra Community House. And I oversee a homeless outreach program. I'm very interested in learning about the new projects coming down.
Thanks, Ann. Jan Zabriskie.
I'm Jan Zabriskie. I'm on the Truckee Town Council, the General Plan Advisory Committee to the town. And then also I represent low-income tenants, low-income clients of Sierra Community House, mostly on landlord-tenant issues.
Excellent, thanks, Jan. Azzie.
The universal.
Sorry about that. I'm Azzie Youseffi. I am with Truckee Artist Lofts. I'm a partner and a project manager with CFY Development, which is an affordable housing developer in Sacramento.
Great, thanks, Azzie. I have a Seco.
I'm sorry. I'm a member of the community. This was open to the public. I will stay quiet and listen and observe.
Okay, great, thanks. Dave Wilderotter.
Yes, this is Dave Wilderotter. I'm from Tahoe Dave Ski Shop, and I'm on the board at NLTRA.
Great, welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
All right, Jill Penwarden.
I am just a member of the public listening in.
Great, thanks, Jill. Julie Brown.
Hi, everybody. I am a journalist, but I'm here strictly just to learn more about the housing process right now. Excited to be here. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Julie. Lisa Spoinley. Lisa, are you there? Okay, and Matthew Carl. Oh, maybe there's anyone mute. All right, and Chelsea, I see you joined as well.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's great to meet you. I'm Chelsea Johnson. I work with David Baker Architects. We are an architecture firm that specializes in affordable housing for the last 30 years, and I'm a resident of Truckee, but work remotely with that firm. So I'm really excited to learn more about the affordable housing in the Truckee area.
Wonderful, welcome, Chelsea. And Christina and I work with the Mountain Housing Council, so welcome everyone. We're really happy to have you. We're just going to go through a little bit about the Mountain Housing Council. I apologize for all of you that have these slides before. Just in case anybody's new, we typically just provide a little bit of background on who we are. The Mountain Housing Council is a part of the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, one of its many programs. We bring together 28 different partners at this time, ranging from businesses, local agencies, housing advocates, community groups, to come together and basically take on the region's housing challenges. So as you can see, we've got a broad range of partners that all come together for this kind of problem solving. Today, as you know, we're going to be discussing several important housing projects in the works that a lot of community members are very excited about. It looks like, I think this title is incorrect, actually, Christina. Yeah, as you know, we're not actually discussing those three. We're actually going to discuss Truckee Artist Loft and Coldstream Commons and Meadow View Place. Truckee Artist Loft and Coldstream Commons are accepting applications, and Meadow View Place is under construction currently. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Azzie Youseffi with CFY Development to talk about Truckee Artist Lofts.
Thanks, Tara. So again, my name is Azzie. I'm a partner with CFY Development and also a partner at Truckee Artist Lofts. Truckee Artist Lofts was conceptualized in 2014. It's been quite a while since we started the vision, which was, again, started by my late husband who passed away in 2018. I took over his role with the company after his passing and took on the project to make sure it was seen through and built the way that he had envisioned it. Part of master development, as most of you probably know that project, and meets the inclusionary housing requirements for the rail yards. It's because affordable housing is obviously a short supply, we did our leasing process on a preference system, points preference system. As you all know, it's an artist housing project, and IRS tax code allows artists to have their own category of housing because they are a demographic that's underhoused and underserved. We modeled the project after a project we did in Sacramento called the Warehouse Artist Lofts, which has been in service for about 8 years now. Not 8 years fully, I guess we started building it at that point, but maybe 6 to 7 years now. It's a very successful project. And there's now other artists in Sacramento hoping that there's more housing options for artists. So there's quite a large creative community in Truckee, as we all know. And so we thought, you know, an artist housing project up there, an affordable artist housing project up there would be oversubscribed the same way that Wall was. Let's see what else. Because of a winter construction schedule and impending snow conditions and all of that, we decided to do a modular build project. So we used Factory OS in Vallejo to build the units, and we put the modular units up. It's been a couple of years since we started construction, and now we're winding down. In the next 6 to 8 weeks, we should be finished with both buildings. Our east building, actually, hopefully tomorrow will pass its last fire inspection, so we can get a temp CO and start moving people in the next, week or so. And then the west building is about 4 to 6 weeks behind that on schedule. So we're winding down, and we still have some units available for lease, mostly at a 50% AMI range. And some of the amenities of the project are natural lighting, which is something that in 2015, when my husband conducted a survey up there with artists, he had asked what their preferences are in a building, and natural lighting was one of them, storage, art room, things like that. So we've incorporated a lot of those amenities in the building, including a community space, community room with an outdoor terrace, playground, and a residential gallery space and retail pop-up space on the ground floor. So there's going to be lots of cool different opportunities for programming for artists and other organizations throughout the community that want to utilize the building for different events and things like that. With Wall in Sacramento, it really became a catalyst for all sorts of creative endeavors in town, and is now our street where the building is now considered the arts district of Sacramento because of the building. So we're really hoping that Truckee Artist Lofts has a similar synergy and effect in downtown Truckee. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them about the project.
Azzie, would you like me to run through your PDF that we translated into slides?
Oh yeah, sure. I thought we were going to go through those while I was speaking.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about the financing that came together.
Yeah, so this is just some quick facts about the project. Our financing partners, as you can see, are listed on here: Town of Truckee, Regional Housing Authority, which also has 19 of our units are Section 8 project-based voucher units. The Martis Fund, Christy and Peter Palmisano. Chase Bank was our construction lender. Boston Capital is an investor. California Community Reinvestment Corp, Community Revitalization Development Corporation, and Tax Credit Allocation Committee, which is, as you all know, this is a tax credit housing project. So we applied for 9% tax credits in order to receive funding for this project. And that's what actually sets the AMI levels that we have to use. And so for this project, we go from 30% AMI to 80% AMI. When you apply for 9% tax credit, you cannot go anywhere above 80% AMI. So that's why our income levels are capped at 80% AMI on this project.
And Azzie, do you happen to know how many units are still available at this time?
I believe we have about 16 units available. We have, we also have, since Regional Housing has 19 of our units, and people would apply for those units through Regional Housing through the project-based voucher program. They also have availability still through their program. So people can apply, you know, through both tracks, through Regional Housing and through our application portal.
And Azzie, you said that the openings that are still available, the vacant units, are at less than 50% AMI.
Not less than, but most of them are 50% AMI. And there's also 80% AMI left, I believe, 50 to 80. The 30s, as with any other project, as you all probably know, are usually the first to go. The lowest income levels are the first to go usually, and then, you know, they work their way up. Sometimes those middle income levels are also difficult to fill because sometimes people don't, you know, they don't make enough to be able to afford that rent, but they make too much to qualify for the lower levels. So we're still working on getting those.
Do you have any opinion on why you haven't rented out all the units yet?
It's, I mean, I think it's a regional thing. I was speaking with Christina before this a little bit. It is difficult at a place where wages are a little bit higher because they have to be in order to meet the cost of living and those types of things. But so then people overqualify, you know, by not very much, even though they can't really afford to pay any costs above, you know, what this project would allow them to pay. So I think it's definitely a regional thing, because what we've experienced in our projects in Sacramento, Davis, pretty much all over California is, for the most part, there's always people that need housing at every income level. There's a shortage period, even at market rate housing, you know, throughout the region. So it has been a little bit difficult up there because you don't have a huge population, but the population you do have, you know, income levels are either a little bit above or a little bit below what they need to be. So we've found that a little bit challenging there.
You know what percentage of your applicants currently live outside of Truckee, or lived outside of Truckee when they applied?
I don't know exactly. I know that like I said, we based our application processing on a preference point system, and we did give preference to locals in town. And so those people would have had their applications processed first. But if they then don't qualify, then we would move through the applications, and then it might be some other people out of town. I know we've gotten people from Reno, you know, all of kind of the towns around, which I think is great because a lot of those people are working in Truckee, you know, but can't afford to live in Truckee, obviously. So that's kind of the point of doing affordable housing projects up there, allow people to be able to live where they work and vice versa.
Well, and I know with our survey results, we found that there's been a less need in the region overall for 3 bedrooms. So I know a lot of the 3-bedroom units were the ones that were left at Truckee Artist Loft last I heard. And
Correct.
I think what we've
Yep.
noticed is just basically the types of families who would need 3 bedrooms were long priced out of this region. And so that might be why, you know, there's just less of a need for 3 bedrooms. There's more of a need at this point for 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and then studios, and then 3 bedrooms. So
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, great. Well, Christina, do we have any more slides from Azzie that we wanted to show before we move on?
We do not.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you, Azzie. So we are going to move on to you, Luke. Christina, if you'll pull up his first slide. All right, Luke's going to be talking about Coldstream Commons and Meadow View Place with us today.
Great, thank you for inviting me. Coldstream Commons I'll start with, and then we'll move on to Meadow View. The site, as probably many of you know, is off of Coldstream Road, adjacent to the Donner Memorial Campground there. And it's the most, I'd say it's the most gorgeous site I've developed anything on, but Meadow View is probably surpasses it. But it's 48 units of housing, half are 1s, half are 2s. The site was donated by Stonebridge Properties, the developer, the master developer of the single family home subdivision surrounding us that is also under construction. The architect for this project, as well as Meadow View Place, is Bogavero Architects from Sacramento. Both projects are being built by Brown Construction. And the ownership group is my firm, Neighborhood Partners, my partner, the John Stewart Company, who is also the property manager, which applicants will work with. And the John Stewart Company is the largest manager of affordable housing in California. So we're lucky to have them. And the third partner is Pacific Housing, which is a nonprofit based in Sacramento that is an owner of about 150 different affordable housing projects. So we have a very good team, I think. We've been working on this project, you know, like all of these projects, it's 5-6 years or longer. In the case of this project, when I was listening earlier, I was thinking, why are the rents at this level or that level? And a lot of it's just the machinations of seeking funding. And in the case of Coldstream, we have 25% of the units at 25% AMI, 25% of the units at 30% AMI, and the balance at 60% AMI. And that's a result of seeking funding. And, you know, the environment we've been in has been very difficult for everybody, with lumber prices and other costs rising significantly. The features at Coldstream are a community building, like all the affordable housing projects. There's a bus stop within a block. There's PV panels offsetting the common area electricity. And that's all I really have to say. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Or maybe I should just go on to second project, which is Meadow View Place. Meadow View Place is located in Placer County, and it's, you know, in the Placer County portion of Truckee, outside of the town limits. It's off of Schaefer Mill Road, and it is the land donation of the Schaefer's Mill Golf Club subdivision developed by MA Partners. And so they donated a 3-acre site, and it's 56 units. It's including, it has 14 1s, 28 2s, and 14 3-bedroom units. The mix is units between 30% AMI and 60% AMI. And again, it has a nice community building. There's more PV on this project. We were trying to achieve zero net energy, but it's very difficult in this environment. without cutting down all the trees, which of course we would not do. And there will be a new bus stop located on Schaefer Mill Road at the entrance to the new road that is going to be coming in across the meadow connecting to our site with this big, beautiful bridge that will be getting installed in the next 60 days. And that's basically the details. Any questions? So that
Me
quick.
again.
Sorry.
This is Jan again. Luke, I have sort of the same questions as for Azzie. I'm trying to get a sense of what the demand is at the different AMI levels for the affordable housing. Do you have a sense?
We are just beginning to start to rent Coldstream. So I don't know. So I really have no experience. My presumption is they're high at all of these levels, between 25 and 60% AMI. Part of our affirmative marketing is to try to reach out to people who are working in the area but aren't able to live there. So I suspect there'll be some people from Reno and other areas that are more affordable that will be able to actually live near where they work, maybe in one of the Martis Valley, exclusive subdivisions, or in Truckee, and one of the restaurants or somewhere where they're currently working and driving a long distance to their home.
A few years ago, we were hearing from the management company for Hennis Flats and Frischman and that Cambridge Real Estate that their waiting lists were long and people were waiting as 2 to 2.5 years for units to become available. I don't know if that's changed or what's going on.
I have a project in Davis that we started renting up in April of 2020. And imagine contemplating moving somewhere in April of 2020 when the pandemic just kicked in. And it took until November to actually fill the project, even though the rents were very, very low for many of the units. And I think people are just been skittish about making changes in their lives. And hopefully as we come out of that now, it will be an easier opportunity for people to contemplate moving somewhere else. That would be my guess.
All right, I'm going to ask some questions of the speakers that appeared in the chat box. And we're looking into kind of a current update on Truckee Artist Lofts so we can get kind of a total number of units and what income brackets. Last that I saw, it was mostly the 40 to 50% AMI and mostly 3 bedrooms, but we'll get a final number for folks and send that out. I think after the fire inspection for Truckee Artist Loft, the certificate of occupancy for the east building, Azzie, is there any estimate as to when that might be coming?
Sorry, our last fire inspection, like I said, is tomorrow. So assuming all goes well tomorrow, we should get a temporary CO and be able to start getting people keys and getting ready to move in.
Great. Is there any date range for the certificate of occupancy, or it just kind of comes right away, usually after the fire inspection?
Yes, the temporary certificate of occupancy will come right after the fire inspection is passed. So I can't tell you an exact date, no. We're crossing our fingers, everything goes well tomorrow, and we'll get that on the go.
Great, that's good news. Dave asked, have you found any 30 to 50% in Truckee? Dave, I think that the 30 to 60% range, AMI range, is usually the first to go. That's kind of that affordable housing range. And then typically, but the 40 to 50, I know with Truckee Artist Loft has been difficult because based on my understanding, they had a lot of folks that were either making too little or making too much to fit within that particular range.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so I think that's one.
Is it possible to make too little in Truckee to qualify? Because it seems like at $30,000 a year, that's what, $15 an hour.
Yeah, we have some of the statistics about income levels that kind of correlate for Truckee Artist Lofts. Christina, do you happen to have that slide that we did as part of our presentation some time ago for Truckee Artist Loft? It shows exactly kind of what correlates with income levels, but yeah, so you could, if you could be at 30% AMI. Oh, thank you, that's great. Could be a 30% AMI, but maybe you make too little to be in the 40 to 50%. So if all of the 30% AMI units are taken up, then you can't apply for the 40 to 50%. So that's kind of a.
What was that again? If you can't fill them up at 30%, you can potentially qualify then at 40%?
No, I just know that there are a lot of people who just could not qualify for the 40 to 50% AMI because, as you can see, it's very specific based on the family size and the AMI.
Thank you.
But I know, as Azzie said, that 30% is usually the first, up to 30% AMI is usually the first to get taken. And yes, we do post the presentations, including the slides, on our website, where it's the same place where you registered for the webinar. So you'll see those up pretty soon. And we can also just circulate them to the attendees here today as well, if that's helpful. Hennessy Flats. I'm not sure we have an update on Hennessy Flats. Azzie, do you know if the whole east side building for the Artist Loft has been basically taken, like rented out? It's basically.
Yes, well, no, not necessarily. We have tried to get as many of the people that have already, done, we finished processing all their applications, getting them signed leases and all of that kind of stuff, and that they're ready to move in. We've tried to get those people assigned to units in the east building, since it's going to be the first one open and available to move in. So that's kind of how we've worked through it. Some people prefer certain units, so they've said, no, I'll wait until the west building is finished, etc. Yeah, so that's how we've done it so far.
Okay. Okay, so some folks have questions about the point system for Truckee Artist Loft, and also how you technically qualify as an artist applicant. Priority.
So, for instance, at the Warehouse Artist Lofts in Sacramento, when we first opened up our application process, we had an artist questionnaire attached to the application, and we didn't have any sort of points preference system, and so we had people camped out overnight 48 hours before our process started. So we had lines around the neighborhood, people camped out overnight for a couple nights just so they can be, early in line to secure a place just to apply. We didn't want to have a similar situation up there, and so we did a points preference system where we also did the artist questionnaire, but on the top of the whole packet, we had, you check off if any of these variables apply to you. For instance, are you an artist? You check it, you get the highest amount of points. Are you local in Truckee? You check it, you get another X amount of points. So people with the highest amount of points out of all of those categories would have their applications processed first. Then that way it gives everyone a fair opportunity to have their applications looked at. And they don't have to come wait in line the day before to make sure they're, in the front of the line to have applications looked at. It's just kind of goes by the preferences of what we're looking for to fill the building up with. And the artist questionnaire that's part of the packet is just something that we look through. We have a few people, including the management team, that look through. We're not looking to disqualify people based on the artist questionnaire. I mean, an artist could be a chef at a restaurant, culinary arts. It could be a hairstylist. It could be a writing professional. So there's all sorts of way to distinguish an artist. And so we're just looking to ensure that whoever is applying has, you know, a creative hobby, or, you know, arts is their full-time job, it's their part-time job, or it's just a hobby, you know, something so that we can ensure that the building still has a feel of an artist colony.
Excellent. Great. Thanks, Azzie. The projected move-in date for the West Building. I know that you only have so much control over this because of the whole inspection system, the certificate of occupancy, but is it 4 to 6 weeks is the current estimate for projected move-in?
It's been about 4 to 6 weeks behind the East Building, so I would stick with that still for the West Building. Yeah.
Okay, great. Dave, I'm not sure I understand your question. How often does one need to re-qualify once in? Oh, you mean each year? Do you have to submit an application to stay at the Truckee Artist Loft?
So with any tax credit housing, you do have to recertify your application. Every year they recertify. I believe maybe since COVID, the rules might have changed a little bit and they do it every 2 years. Now, I could be totally wrong on that. I'd have to ask my regional, but I thought I remember them saying that. Either way, it's either at most it's once a year. Yes, you would need to recertify, which, you know, you bring in your W-2s or your tax returns, things like that, to show your income level hasn't changed, or it has, and it's at this level now or whatever.
Okay, great.
And
Is
Azzie,
it my understanding that you only have to do it for the first 2 years and then you don't have to do it after that? Is that right? Or maybe that's changed with COVID too.
No, that's
Yeah.
not my understanding. I mean, you could answer as well, but I think it's an annual requirement. As long as you're there.
As far as I know, yes.
You know, with ownership housing, which these projects are not, there might be a different approach, but with rental housing,
Yeah, because it's like assistance, any other assistance program like Medicare, you have to submit paperwork every year. Yeah.
and for good reason, because there are people in rent control units in San Francisco who don't need them, you know, but the mechanism never existed to re-qualify so that people who needed them.
I think on the tax credit housing here in Truckee, that yes, you have to recertify every year, but if your income surpasses the limit, you can stay in the apartment. You're just not going to get the benefit of the rent restriction.
Ah, okay. That's
You're
good.
not
to know.
evicted, you just lose the
Right.
rent cap.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that answers Anne's question. Okay, great. Are there any other questions that folks have for Luke or Azzie?
Azzie, just so I understand, it's your impression that we have people at the 50 and 60% AMI. It's not that that wage group is missing from Truckee. It's that that group tends to live somewhere else because of the other high costs of living in Truckee.
That's what I would guess, to be honest. I'm not an expert at that, so I couldn't tell you exactly why. And I'm not dealing with the leasing every day to see the demographics of who's applying, who's not. So I can't necessarily give you an exact answer, but I would assume that that's why. That's what seems to be happening with a lot of our applicants, is that people are not able to meet, you know, what's required, because you also have a minimum that you're required to make. You have to, you know, you have to be able to
Pay the rent.
pay the rent. So we're finding it that people are having a challenge, you know, falling in between those two scales to qualify at that AMI level.
Right. Trying to find more info with that. On that. Here it is here. Just going to go ahead and post the chart on the website, Truckee Artist Loft website, that very specifically lists the incomes for those ranges. So 40% AMI is 25,000 for one person, around that, all the way to 41,000 for a six-person family. And then 50% AMI is 31,000 for one person, all the way to 52,000 for a six-person family. Income ranges. Just so that folks have those links and kind of keep tabs on them. All right, great. Well, thank you so much. Again, I just want to do a last call for any questions for Azzie and Luke.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I have another question. And for someone to qualify at an income level, is it based on if they are an artist? How do you figure out if they just do one project and take the rest of the year off? Or in some cases, we have a bunch of seasonal employees that might not get 200 or 2,000 hours a year. Is there a minimal number of hours that one must have, or how is that figured out on whether it's?
Well, I mean, we don't decipher on like the amount of art they do or anything like that. They just have to show tax returns or how much, you know, have a W-2 or, you know, the, like an independent contractor form, something like that, that claims their income from self-employment or from, you know, doing art, selling art, etc. There's a form that they have to fill out that self-verifies their income if they're not getting paid by a company. So there is a way for them to verify their income if they're just making money on their own, on their art or anything else.
And then if it's a seasonal employee, like let's say somebody that works at Squaw Valley as a lift attendant, and they only work for 6 or 7 months a year, do they qualify, or do you have to work year round?
Again, it doesn't matter how often they work. It just matters the income for the year, the annual income. It could be working only 2 weeks out of the year, as long as they meet the income level.
And just to note, they did appoint an artist selection panel that screens the applications for kind of the questions around the art, whether they're an artist. And they do provide a pretty specific definition as well as to who is an artist. I've put all of that in the chat box as well. All right, any final questions?
One final question. If you can't fill the project up with artists, you then can allow people that have other vocations, right?
Yes, and we actually have taken some applications of people that aren't artists. We just asked them to write on the artist questionnaire, you know, that they are not artists. But we have taken applications already that for people who are not artists.
Yeah, it's a priority system. So yeah, it does eventually open up to everyone within those income ranges. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, Luke and Azzie, for giving your time today to answer all of our questions about these important projects. And thank you to everyone who joined us. As I mentioned, this presentation will be posted where all of you registered here. And our next, I'm going to go ahead and paste that into the chat box. And our next speaker series is on July 13th. It's also on housing projects that are coming up. It's on Hopkins Village, which is already open for applications, and Silver Creek as well. So that's at the same time on July 13th. So thank you so much.
Can I actually ask a question since we have Luke? Sorry, before we close. I'm sorry. Luke, can you tell a little bit more about Meadow View Place? And I'm sorry if I missed this, but when it's anticipated to be complete and when applications are anticipated to be open, and if there's contact information for that.
It would be the same contact information as for Coldstream Commons, the John Stewart Company. The anticipated completion date is about December 1st. As I mentioned, we have to build a bridge and a road, which is extending the construction timeline. The buildings are actually almost done, but this infrastructure improvements need to get completed. I think that's answered what you asked, right? Yeah.
And when will applications open for Meadow View Place?
usually it's about 90 days before that. But I think now you could get, if you contacted the number for the John Stewart Company, which is the 916-561-0323, now you can leave a message to be put on an interest list for either of these projects. Coldstream Commons, they're sending out applications now, but Meadow View Place, they'll take those names on the list and start sending those applications out, 90 days before that. So whatever that is, September 1st, probably.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
Great. I'm just checking for any last questions. Lisa, I answered your question about the affordable versus achievable percentage. And just to kind of note that all of the units that are coming available in Truckee specifically between now and the fall are in the affordable low categories. And just to kind of note, Mountain Housing Council will be releasing more information on this, but our latest survey results actually indicate that the highest area of need, first and foremost right now, is the 80 to 120% AMI, followed by less than 80% AMI. So it's really interesting to look at it, but it is also really exciting to just see how many affordable, capital A affordable units are coming open between now and the fall for folks. And that's why we're holding these speaker series, just so that everybody kind of is on the list to apply if they want to, or to get the info out to those who need it. So again, thank you all so much for joining us today. And make sure you join us on July 13th. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.